The 3,000-year truce is over. Aliens declare war, but humans only. Laugh Admiral Erin Morris stood on the main deck of Earth Defense Station Vigilant Dawn. She sipped her coffee and looked out at the stars. It was supposed to be a normal day. That changed when the emergency alert sounded. "Admiral, we have an incoming transmission," said Lieutenant Samantha Blackwood. Her fingers moved quickly across the control panel. "It's from a species calling themselves the Zarketh. They're demanding to speak with Earth's highest authority." Morris set down her coffee. "Put them through to the main screen." The large display at the front of the command center flickered to life. The face that appeared made several junior officers gasp. The alien had gray-blue skin that seemed almost transparent. Veins pulsed with light beneath its surface. Its eyes were large and completely black with no visible pupils. 4 breathing slits opened and closed on the sides of its long neck. "I am Supreme Commander Vexthal of the Zarketh Empire," the alien said through the translation system. Its voice sounded like rocks grinding together. "To whom am I speaking?" Morris stepped forward. "I am Admiral Erin Morris of the United Earth Defense Force. How may I help you, Supreme Commander?" The alien's skin flashed with patterns of light. The computer indicated this was a sign of anger or excitement. "Help? You cannot help us, human. I come with a message for your species." The alien raised all 4 of its arms. "The sacred truce established between our great civilizations 3,000 years ago is now over. The High Council has voted. We declare war on humanity. Prepare yourselves for complete destruction." The message ended. The screen went dark. The command center was silent for several seconds. Captain Gregory Wells, the tactical officer, broke the silence. "Did that alien just declare war on us?" He was trying hard not to smile. Morris turned to her senior staff. Their reactions ranged from confusion to amusement. Not one of them looked worried. "Lieutenant Blackwood, send a message to Earth Command. Tell them about this declaration of war." Morris ran a hand through her short gray hair. "And someone, please tell me who the Zarketh are and what truce they're talking about." Dr. Alan Pierce, the station's historian, stepped forward. "I believe I can answer that, Admiral." He pulled up some files on his tablet. According to records from 3025 CE, a primitive alien ship entered our solar system. They were barely able to travel between stars. Their ship was damaged. Our ancestors helped repair it, gave them some basic technology, and sent them on their way. "And the truce?" Morris asked. "The aliens insisted on signing what they called a peace accord before leaving. Our ancestors thought it was just a thank you document. They signed it to be polite." Morris stared at the dark screen where the alien had been. "Are you telling me these aliens are declaring war over a courtesy agreement signed when humans were still confined to a single solar system?" "It appears so," Dr. Pierce said. "They must have been building up their military all this time, thinking we were doing the same." Captain Wells laughed out loud now. "They have no idea what they're getting into, do they?" "None whatsoever," Morris replied. She allowed herself a small smile. "This could be the shortest war in human history." The alert sounded again. This time it was Earth Command calling back. The face of General William Keller appeared on screen. "Admiral Morris, we received your message about this alien declaration of war. What's your assessment of the threat?" "Based on preliminary analysis, minimal to none, sir," Morris replied. "Dr. Pierce has identified them as a species we encountered 3,000 years ago. They were pre-industrial then. Even with our technological assistance, they would be centuries behind our current capabilities." "I see." General Keller's serious expression softened slightly. "What do you recommend as our first response?" "I suggest we gather more intelligence on their current technological level before responding, sir. We should also try to open a dialogue. This could be a simple misunderstanding." "Agreed. I'm sending you everything we have on the Zarketh in the archives. I'm also dispatching the 7th Fleet to your position just in case. They'll arrive within the hour." Morris raised an eyebrow. "The entire 7th Fleet, sir? That's 500 warships for one alien threat?" General Keller shrugged. "Standard protocol for first contact with potentially hostile species. Better safe than sorry." After the general signed off, Morris turned to her staff. "Let's get to work. I want a full analysis of that transmission. Look for any clues about their technology level, military capabilities, and fleet size." "Admiral," called one of the sensor technicians, "we're detecting multiple objects entering the solar system at its edge. They appear to be ships. A lot of ships." "How many?" Morris asked. "Initial count is over 1,500 vessels, still rising." The command center fell silent again. Then Captain Wells whistled. They weren't kidding about going to war. "Tactical analysis?" Morris asked. Lieutenant Derek Owens at the weapons station studied his readings. Their ships are using antimatter catalyzed, fusion engines, primitive shield technology, and what appear to be particle beam weapons. He looked up with a puzzled expression. "Admiral, these technologies are approximately equivalent to what we had around 2200 CE, so they're about 800 years behind us," Morris summarized. "At minimum," Owens confirmed. "Their most advanced warship would be outclassed by one of our civilian transport vessels." Morris nodded. "Just as I thought. They've been preparing for war based on 3,000-year-old intelligence." She walked to the center of the command deck. "Open a channel to the approaching fleet." Lieutenant Blackwood tried for several minutes. "They're not responding, Admiral. They're ignoring all hails." "What's their current course and speed?" "They're heading straight for Earth at maximum acceleration. At their current speed, they'll reach us in about 6 hours." The 7th Fleet arrived 40 minutes later. 500 of humanity's most advanced warships took position around the station. Each one could single-handedly defeat the entire alien armada. Admiral Kate Franklin, commander of the 7th Fleet, joined Morris on the command deck. "So these are our mysterious enemies? The ones who've declared war on humanity after 3,000 years?" "Apparently so," Morris said. "They refuse to communicate further. They seem determined to attack." "What's the plan?" Franklin asked. Morris thought. For a moment. "I think we should send out a single ship to meet them. The diplomatic vessel Olive Branch would be perfect. Let's see how they react to that." Franklin grinned. "A single ship against their entire fleet? That's a bit mean, don't you think?" "I'm hoping it will make them stop and think," Morris replied. "If they attack a clearly marked diplomatic vessel, it justifies whatever measures we need to take. And if they don't attack, then maybe we can talk some sense into them before this gets out of hand." The two admirals watched as the small, sleek diplomatic vessel left the station. It would reach the Zarketh fleet in just under an hour, well before the aliens reached Earth. 3,000 years, Morris said quietly. "They've been preparing for this war for 3,000 years, while we've been expanding across 3 galaxies and making peace with hundreds of other species. It's almost sad," Franklin agreed. "Their entire civilization has been built around fighting an enemy that doesn't exist anymore. The humans they remember disappeared millennia ago." Morris nodded. "Let's hope they can learn to let go of the past. Otherwise, this will be a very short and very one-sided war." On the main screen, they watched as the small diplomatic vessel continued toward the massive alien armada. The future of an entire species would be determined in the next few hours. Morris hoped it would be a future of peace, not extinction. The diplomatic vessel Olive Branch glided silently through space. Ambassador Nicole Carter stood on the bridge, watching as the massive Zarketh fleet grew larger on the view screen. She had been briefed about the situation just an hour ago. Now, she was humanity's first line of communication with an alien species bent on war. 2,000 ships and counting, reported the pilot, Eric Nelson. Their formation suggests they've never fought a space battle before. They're bunched too close together. Nicole nodded. She was not a military expert, but even she could see the flaws in the alien battle plan. "How long until we're in communication range?" "About 10 minutes, Ambassador." Nicole straightened her simple blue uniform. It had no military insignia, no weapons, and no armor. Her mission was peace, even if the aliens wanted war. Meanwhile, Supreme Commander Vexithal stood proudly on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Vengeance. It was the largest and most powerful warship the Zarketh had ever built. For 3,000 years, his people had prepared for this moment. Generation after generation had lived and died with one purpose: to be ready when the time came to fight the humans. Supreme Commander, called his second-in-command, Sub-Commander Zarvex. We have detected a single human vessel approaching. Show me, Vexthal ordered. The main screen displayed a small silver ship. It had a sleek design with no visible weapons. The ship's name translated as Olive Branch. They send one ship against our armada, Vexthal said with a harsh laugh. This is their response to our declaration of war? Perhaps it is a surrender, vessel, suggested Zarvex. Or a trick, warned the tactical officer. It could be hiding powerful weapons. Vexthal considered this. His ancestors had warned that humans were cunning. Scan the vessel. After a moment, the tactical officer looked confused. No weapons detected, no shield generators, no armor plating. It appears to be exactly what it seems, a diplomatic vessel. They mock us, Vexthal hissed. After 3,000 years of preparation, they send a single unarmed ship. We are receiving a transmission from the human vessel, reported the communications officer. Put it on screen, Vexthal ordered. The image of a human female appeared. She had dark skin and short, black hair. Her uniform was simple and blue with no military markings. Greetings, she said calmly. I am Ambassador Nicole Carter of the United Earth Alliance. We request that you stand down and engage in diplomatic discussions regarding your declaration of war. Vexthal felt rage building inside him. His skin began to pulse with angry red light. Your time for diplomacy ended when the truce was broken. Where is your fleet, human? Where are your defenses? The human's expression remained calm. This is our defense. One ship is sufficient. The insult was too much for Vexthal. You mock us with this insult? We have prepared for 3 millennia. Our armada will reduce your worlds to ash. I strongly advise against hostile action, the human replied. But we will defend ourselves if necessary. Vexthal cut the transmission. Target their vessel. All ships fire when ready. Throughout, the Zarkeith fleet. Weapons powered up. 2,000 ships aimed their most powerful weapons at the lone human vessel. Energy beams, antimatter torpedoes, and graviton pulses streaked across space. And then, nothing happened. The weapons disappeared, about 10 kilometers from the human ship. They simply vanished into what looked like a ripple in space. Report, Vexthal demanded. Unknown defensive technology, his science officer replied with fear in his voice. Our weapons simply ceased to exist. Before they could react, small objects appeared beside every Zarketh ship. They were floating metallic spheres no larger than a scout vessel. The human ambassador's voice came through the communication system again. Those are automated defense platforms. For the next demonstration, please observe your weapon systems. Alarms began to sound throughout the fleet. Weapons were shutting down. Energy cores were going into standby mode. The systems were not being destroyed. They were simply receiving commands they could not override. Impossible, Vexthal whispered. How can they control our technology? Final demonstration, the ambassador said. Every ship in the Zarketh armada suddenly moved, rearranging themselves into a perfect geometric pattern without engaging their engines. Your vessels are currently held in a localized gravity field, the ambassador explained. We control their position, orientation, and internal systems. We could disassemble them down to their component atoms if we wished. Instead, I again invite you to stand down and discuss terms. The choice is yours, Supreme Commander. Back on the Vigilant Dawn station, Admiral Morris and Admiral Franklin watched the encounter on the main screen. The entire command crew was silent as they witnessed the Zarketh fleet's failed attack and the demonstration that followed. Well, that went well, Admiral Franklin said with a slight smile. The defense platforms worked perfectly. Admiral Morris nodded. Let's hope it's enough to convince them to talk instead of fight. What if they refuse? Asked Captain Wells. Then we show them more, Morris replied. But only as much as necessary. Our goal isn't to destroy them, just to make them understand the reality of their situation. On the diplomatic vessel, Ambassador Carter waited patiently for the Tsar Keth. Response. Her mission was clear. Avoid bloodshed if possible, guide the aliens toward peaceful relations, and protect Earth and its colonies. Finally, the face of Supreme Commander Vexthal appeared on her screen again. His skin now pulsed with a dull blue light that the translator identified as indicating fear or uncertainty. "How is this possible?" he asked. Our scientists assured us that our technology was superior. "Your scientists were working with 3,000-year-old information," Nicole explained gently. "Humanity has advanced considerably since your ancestors met ours." "The truce," Vexthal said slowly. "It was not a treaty between equals, was it?" "No," Nicole admitted. "Our ancestors didn't even consider it a military agreement. They were simply being kind to a less advanced species in need of help." The alien commander was silent for a long moment. His forearms moved in what seemed to be a gesture of resignation. "We have no choice but to surrender." "That's not what we're asking for," Nicole said. "We're offering dialogue, not demanding submission. Will you agree to come aboard our station to discuss terms for peace?" Vexthal's skin rippled with confusion. "You would still offer peace after we attacked you?" "Of course. War is our last resort, not our first. We outgrew our warlike tendencies centuries ago." The alien commander seemed to struggle with this concept. Finally, he said, "I will come with a small delegation to discuss terms, but know this, human. The Tsar Keth do not forget, and we do not forgive easily." "Neither do we," Nicole replied calmly. "But we have learned to move forward. Perhaps your people can learn that too." As the communication ended, Nicole turned to her crew. "Inform Admiral Morris that Supreme Commander Vexthal has agreed to negotiations. Prepare the conference room for our guests." "Do you think they'll actually listen?" Eric asked. "They don't have much choice," Nicole said, "but I hope they listen for the right reasons. Their entire civilization has been built around a war that was never going to happen. That's a difficult truth to accept." As the olive branch turned back toward the Vigilant Dawn station, the Tsar Keth flagship separated from its fleet and followed. Behind them, the rest of the alien armada remained frozen in place, held by technology they couldn't understand. 3,000 years of preparation had led to this moment, but instead of the glorious battle the Tsar Keth had expected, they were about to learn just how far humanity had advanced while they had remained focused on a pointless war. The grand conference room aboard the Vigilant Dawn station was prepared for the most unusual diplomatic meeting in recent history. On one side of the large oval table sat the human delegation: Admiral Morris, Ambassador Carter, and several specialists. On the other side sat Supreme Commander Vexthal and 5 other Tsar Keth officials. Their skin pulsed with different colors, showing their mixed emotions. Admiral Morris began the meeting. "Welcome aboard the Vigilant Dawn. We appreciate your willingness to discuss a peaceful resolution." Vexthal's translator converted his clicking speech into English. "We had little choice after your demonstration, but before we begin these talks, we demand to know how you defeated our weapons so easily." Ambassador Carter nodded to Dr. Olivia Martinez, the Chief Science Officer. Dr. Martinez activated a holographic display in the center of the table. "Your weapons use antimatter catalyzed fusion and particle beam technology," Dr. Martinez explained. "We developed similar systems about 800 years ago. Since then, we've created much more advanced defenses." The hologram showed a simplified version of the defense platforms that had neutralized the Tsar Keth attack. "These automated units create localized distortions in spacetime," Dr. Martinez continued. "Your weapons didn't disappear, they were redirected into a pocket dimension where they couldn't harm anyone." One of the Tsar Keth scientists leaned forward with interest. "Such technology should be impossible. The energy requirements alone would be—" "We solved the energy problem 700 years ago," Dr. Martinez interrupted gently. "We now harness zero-point energy from the quantum vacuum." The Tsar Keth delegation fell silent. Their skin pattern shifted to a pale blue color that indicated shock. "I don't understand," Vexthal said finally. If you possessed such power, why did you not destroy us when we declared war? Why offer peace? Admiral Morris exchanged glances with Ambassador Carter before answering, because that's not who we are anymore. Humanity outgrew its warlike tendencies centuries ago. Before we continue, Ambassador Carter said, I believe it would be helpful for you to understand the current state of human civilization. She activated a new holographic display that filled the center of the room. It showed the Milky Way galaxy, then zoomed out to reveal humanity's presence in the Andromeda and Triangulum galaxies as well. Humanity currently administers approximately 40,000 worlds across 3 galaxies, she explained. We have peaceful relations with 217 spacefaring species and are founding members of the Galactic Concord. This is propaganda, said Subcommander Zarvex angrily. Our ancestors encountered humans when they were confined to a single world, barely able to reach their own moon. Dr. Paul Winters, the historical advisor, smiled gently. That was 3,000 years ago, Commander. Much has changed. He brought up historical footage showing humanity's expansion through the stars, the development of faster-than-light technology, the harnessing of zero-point energy, and the creation of synthetic consciousness. While your civilization focused on preparing for war with us, Dr. Winters continued, we were solving the fundamental problems of physics, extending human lifespan indefinitely, and building a multi-galactic society. The footage showed scenes of human cities on distant worlds, massive space habitats, and cooperative ventures with other alien species. The Zarketh watched in silence. If what you show us is true, Bexthal said slowly, then we have been preparing to fight an enemy that no longer exists. Exactly, Admiral Morris said. The humans your ancestors met are as different from us as they were from their cave-dwelling ancestors. What happens now? Vexithal asked. Our entire civilization has been built around this war. For 3,000 years, we have focused all our resources, all our education, all our culture on defeating humanity. Ambassador Carter leaned forward. That's why we're here, to help you transition to a peaceful society. Why would you help us? Zarvex demanded. We declared war on you. We attacked your ship. Because that's what advanced civilizations do, Carter replied simply. We help others grow. The holographic display changed again, showing a proposal for cultural exchange, technological assistance, and eventual membership in the Galactic Concord for the Zarketh. This is generous, Vexithal admitted, his skin now showing patterns of confusion mixed with hope. But not without conditions, Admiral Morris added. Your society must redirect its focus from warfare to peaceful development. Your weapons must be converted to other uses, and you must agree not to threaten any other species. You're asking us to change everything about our civilization, Zarvex protested. Yes, Ambassador Carter said simply, because your current path leads nowhere. Even if we weren't here, your war-focused society would eventually collapse or turn on itself. Vexthal stood up suddenly and walked to the window that looked out into space. From there he could see his flagship and the distant shapes of his fleet, still held in place by human technology. For 3,000 years we have told our children that humans were our great enemy, he said quietly. Every achievement, every scientific advance, every resource was devoted to this war. What do I tell my people now? Admiral Morris joined him at the window. Tell them the truth. Tell them that the universe is bigger and more wonderful than they imagined. Tell them that instead of one enemy, they could have hundreds of allies. Vexthal turned to face the Admiral. And if some refuse to accept this change, there will be resistance. We know, Morris acknowledged. Cultural change is never easy, but we'll help you through the transition. Back at the table, Dr. Martinez was showing the Zarketh scientists some of the technologies that could be shared. Medical advances, clean energy systems, agricultural improvements. Your people would no longer need to live on war rations, she explained. With these farming methods, you could produce 10 times more food on the same land. The Zarketh scientists were clearly fascinated. Their skin pulsed with excited colors as they examined the technical details. Meanwhile, Ambassador Carter was discussing cultural exchange programs with the Zarketh cultural minister. "We would welcome your artists, musicians, and historians to Earth and our colony world," she said, "and human cultural representatives would visit your worlds to learn about your traditions." "We have few artists," the cultural minister admitted sadly. Most creative expression was directed toward war propaganda. "Then it's time to nurture new forms of expression," Carter suggested. "Your people have 3,000 years of emotions to process. Art can help with that." After several hours of discussion, Vexithal returned to his seat at the table. His skin had settled into a steady green glow that the translator identified as thoughtful determination. "I need to consult with the High Council," he announced. "But I believe they will see the wisdom in accepting your offer. We cannot win this war. Perhaps it is time we learned how to win the peace instead." Admiral Morris smiled. "A wise decision, Supreme Commander." "There is one more thing I must know," Vexithal said. "When we declared war, your people laughed. Why?" The humans exchanged glances. It was Captain Wells who answered. "It wasn't mockery," he explained. "It was relief. Throughout our history, we were often our own worst enemies. We nearly destroyed ourselves several times before we learned better. When you declared war, it reminded us how far we've come." Vexthal nodded slowly. "Perhaps one day my people will laugh about this too." As the meeting concluded, arrangements were made for the Zarketh delegation to return to their ship and contact their homeworld. The human defense platforms would remain in place, but the fleet would be allowed to move freely once certain weapon systems were deactivated. Admiral Morris watched from the observation deck as the Zarketh shuttle departed. "The station? Do you think they'll really change?" Captain Wells asked, standing beside her. "They don't have much choice," Morris replied. "But yes, I think they will. They've spent 3,000 years preparing to meet an advanced civilization. They just didn't expect that civilization to offer friendship instead of war." Wells smiled. 3,000 years preparing for a war that lasted less than an hour. That might be a new record. "The best kind of war," Morris said, "is the one that never really happens." 1 week had passed since the first meeting between humans and the Zarketh. Supreme Commander Vexithal stood before the High Council on his homeworld, Keth Zara. The 9 council members sat in a semicircle, their skin displaying patterns of anger, fear, and confusion. "This is unacceptable," said High Counselor Zethmar, the oldest and most respected member. "You speak of surrender after 3,000 years of preparation." Vexthal remained calm. "I speak of survival, not surrender. The humans are not what we thought they were. They are far more advanced than our ancestors could have imagined." He activated the data crystal he had brought back from the human station. The room filled with holographic images showing human technology, their multi-galactic civilization, and the defensive capabilities that had so easily neutralized the Zarketh fleet. "These could be tricks," argued Counselor Varlek, the military representative. "Illusions to make us doubt ourselves." "I witnessed their power firsthand," Vexthal replied. "Our entire fleet, 2,000 warships, was frozen in space by devices smaller than scout vessels. Our weapons were redirected into pocket dimensions. They could have destroyed us all with a thought, but they chose to talk instead." The council chamber fell silent as the members processed this information. Finally, High Counselor Zethmar spoke. "If what you say is true, Commander, then our position is indeed difficult. What do the humans want from us?" "They offer peace, technological assistance, and eventual membership in something called the Galactic Concord. In exchange, we must redirect our society away from warfare and agree not to threaten other species." Counselor Varlek stood up in anger. "They ask us to abandon our very identity. For 3,000 years we have been warriors preparing for this conflict. And for 3,000 years they have been explorers, scientists, and diplomats." Vexthal countered. "While we built warships, they built a civilization spanning 3 galaxies. Which path has served them better? Before the council could respond, the chamber doors opened. A group of human representatives entered, led by Ambassador Nicole Carter. The council members stiffened in surprise. "Forgive the interruption," Ambassador Carter said through her translator. "Supreme Commander Vexisthal invited us to join this session to answer any questions directly." High Counselor Zethmar's skin flashed with patterns of alarm. "You brought humans to our homeworld without authorization?" "I brought them because you need to hear the truth from them," Vexthal replied firmly. "Our future depends on understanding who they really are." After a tense moment, Zethmar gestured for the humans to approach. "Very well. We will hear what they have to say." Ambassador Carter stepped forward with Dr. Paul Winters and Admiral Kate Franklin. "Thank you for receiving us, High Council. We understand this is a difficult time for your people." "Difficult?" Counselor Varlek said bitterly. "You have made 3,000 years of our history meaningless in a single day." Admiral Franklin shook her head. "Not meaningless. Your people showed remarkable determination and unity of purpose. Those qualities will serve you well in peace, just as they did in preparing for war." "What guarantee do we have that your offer of peace is genuine?" asked another counselor. "How do we know this isn't a trick to make us lower our defenses?" Dr. Winters activated a small device that projected images of Earth and several human colony worlds. "We have brought gifts as a show of good faith. Medical technology that will extend your people's lifespans by at least 50 years. Agricultural systems that will triple your food production. Energy generation methods that will make power shortages a thing of the past." The council members' skin patterns shifted to show interest despite their suspicion. "And what do you gain from this?" Zethmar asked. "Another ally," Ambassador Carter replied simply. "Another perspective in the galactic conquered, another culture to learn from and share with." "Learn from us?" Varlek laughed harshly. "What could your advanced civilization possibly learn from ours? Your determination, your unity, your ability to maintain focus across thousands of years," Admiral Franklin said. "Those are rare qualities even among the species we've encountered." The council chamber grew quiet as the Zarketh considered this unexpected praise. High Counselor Zethmar turned to his fellow council members. "I propose we adjourn to discuss this matter privately." Before they could leave, Vexthal stepped forward. "There is one more thing the council should know." He gestured to Dr. Winters, who activated another holographic display. The image showed a star system not far from Kethzara. In it, a massive fleet of strange vessels was gathering. "This is the Zorlath Collective," Dr. Winters explained, "a species that conquers others for resources and slave labor. They've been moving toward your sector for the past 5 years. Counselor Varlek stood up in alarm. "Why are we only learning of this now?" "Your long-range sensors are focused exclusively on the path to Earth," Admiral Franklin explained. "You've been blind to threats from other directions. The Zorlath will reach your outer colonies within 2 years," Ambassador Carter continued. "Alone, you would have little chance against them. With our help and protection as members of the Galactic Concord, they wouldn't dare attack." The council chamber erupted in concerned discussion. Vexthal watched as the reality of their situation sank in. They had spent 3,000 years preparing to fight the wrong enemy. When the noise subsided, High Counselor Zethmar addressed the humans. "You could have used this information to force our compliance. Why share it openly?" "Because true allies don't manipulate each other," Ambassador Carter said. "We want your trust, not your fear." The High Council withdrew to their private chamber to deliberate. The humans and Vexthal waited in the main hall. After several hours, they were called back in. High Counselor Zethmar's skin now glowed with a steady blue-green pattern that indicated resolve. "The High Council has reached its decision. We will accept your offer of peace and alliance with conditions to be negotiated regarding the preservation of our cultural identity." Ambassador Carter bowed slightly. "We accept these terms and look forward to the negotiations." "There is more," Zethmar continued. "For 3,000 years, our people have known only one purpose: to prepare for war with humanity. This change will not be easy. There will be resistance. We understand, Admiral Franklin said. Cultural transitions are never simple. We will help however we can. As the formal meeting concluded, Vexthal approached Ambassador Carter privately. There is something I still don't understand. Our civilization was built on a lie, that humans were our great enemy. What will we become now that the lie has been exposed? Ambassador Carter smiled gently. Whatever you choose to become. That's the gift of peace, the freedom to define yourself by something other than your enemies. Outside the council chamber, news of the alliance was spreading through the capital city. Some citizens were celebrating the end of war preparations and rationing. Others were protesting what they saw as surrender. The transition would not be easy, but it had begun. On the human diplomatic vessel, Admiral Franklin contacted Earth Command with the news. The Zarketh have agreed to peace terms, request permission to establish a permanent diplomatic mission, and begin technology transfers. General Keller's face appeared on the screen. Permission granted, Admiral, and well done. You've turned a potential enemy into an ally without firing a shot. To be fair, sir, Franklin replied with a smile. They did fire first. We just chose not to fire back. The best kind of victory, General Keller said. One where both sides win. 1 year had passed since the Zarketh declared war on humanity, and then found peace instead. The newly constructed Galactic Concord Embassy on Keth Zara was hosting its first major celebration. Hundreds of Zarketh and human guests filled the Grand Hall, which blended architectural styles from both worlds. Ambassador Nicole Carter watched as former Supreme Commander, now High Representative, Vexithal prepared to address the gathered crowd. His skin glowed with a confident green color that would have been rare on any Zarketh just a year ago. Friends, allies, honored guests, Vexthal began, his translator converting his clicks and whistles into smooth English. 1 year ago today, our civilization stood on the brink of war. Today we stand together as partners in peace. He gestured to the large windows that showed the capital city beyond. The changes were dramatic. Where once there had been military barracks and weapons factories, now stood research centers, public parks, and cultural institutions. When our ancestors returned from their encounter with humanity 3,000 years ago, they misunderstood kindness for weakness, Vexthal continued. They believed the humans had agreed to a truce because they feared us. This misunderstanding shaped our entire civilization for 3 millennia. The crowd was silent, reflecting on how much had changed in just 1 year. We prepared for a war that could never be won, Vexthal said. Now we prepare for a peace that will benefit generations to come. Applause filled the hall as Vexthal concluded his speech. The celebration continued with performances by both human and Zarketh artists. A human dance troupe performed alongside Zarketh musicians, creating a unique blend of both cultures. Later, Ambassador Carter walked with High Representative Vexthal through the embassy gardens. Plants from both Earth and Keth Zara grew together in carefully designed arrangements. Your speech was excellent, Carter said. You've become quite the diplomat. I had a good teacher, Vexithal replied, though not all my people share my enthusiasm for our new direction. I've heard about the protests in the southern provinces, Carter acknowledged. Change is never easy, especially when it challenges beliefs held for thousands of years. The resistance grows smaller each day, Vexthal said. Each time a new medical center opens, each time food distribution increases, more people accept the benefits of peace. They stopped beside a reflecting pool that showed the twin moons of Keth Zara on its surface. There is something I still don't understand, Vexithal said after a moment of silence. 1 year ago, when we declared war, your people laughed. Captain Wells explained it was relief, not mockery. But I sensed there was more to it. Ambassador Carter smiled. He was partly right. Throughout our history, we were often our own worst enemies. We fought countless wars over territory, resources, ideology. We nearly destroyed ourselves several times. What changed? Vexthal asked. We grew up, Carter replied simply. We realized that the universe is vast and largely indifferent to our existence. The only way to thrive was to work together, not against each other. She gestured to the stars visible through the garden dome. When we finally ventured out into the galaxy, we found it mostly empty of intelligent life. The few species we encountered were either far behind us technologically or so different that communication was nearly impossible. Until now, Vexthal said. Yes, Carter agreed. The Zarketh are unique among the species we've encountered. You think like we do. You feel like we do. You followed a similar path, just at a different pace. And that's why your people laughed when we declared war? Because you saw yourselves in us? Exactly. It was like watching a recording of our own past. We once thought warfare was the natural state of existence too. Now we know better. In orbit, above them, the former Zarketh flagship Eternal Vengeance, now renamed Perpetual Discovery, prepared for its maiden voyage as a scientific vessel. Its crew was a mixture of Zarketh and human scientists, embarking on a 5-year mission to catalog unexplored systems. Captain Ryan Sullivan, the human commanding officer, stood on the bridge with his Zarketh first officer, Commander Zarvex. The former military officer was still adjusting to his new role. Final systems check complete, reported Lieutenant Linda Baker at the operations console. All departments report ready for departure. Thank you, Lieutenant, Captain Sullivan said. He turned to his first officer. All systems ready, Commander Zarvex? The Zarketh nodded, his skin showing a mixture of blue anxiety and green excitement. Ready, Captain, though I must admit, I'm more nervous about this mission than I ever was about going to war. Captain Sullivan smiled. That's how we all feel, about the unknown. But trust me, what you'll discover out there is far more valuable than anything you could have gained through conquest. As the Perpetual Discovery moved away from the orbital shipyard, its engines glowed with a soft blue light. Unlike the harsh red thrusters of Zarketh military vessels, these new engines used technology shared by the humans. They were cleaner, more efficient, and far more powerful. Course laid in for the Centauri system, reported the Zarketh navigator. Estimated travel time, 3 days. 3 days? Zarvex said in surprise. That journey would have taken our fastest military vessels 3 weeks. Just one of the benefits of peace, Captain Sullivan replied. Sharing knowledge benefits everyone. As the ship prepared to engage its faster-than-light drive, a message came in from the surface. It was High Representative Vexthal and Ambassador Carter. Perpetual Discovery. This is Keth Zara Control, Vexthal said. You carry the hopes of 2 species with you. May your journey be safe and your discoveries significant. Thank you, Control, Captain Sullivan replied. We won't let you down. The ship's engines hummed with power as the faster-than-light drive activated. In a flash of light, the vessel disappeared from Keth Zara orbit, beginning its journey of exploration. Back on the surface, Vexthal and Carter watched the departure on a monitor in the embassy garden. Do you think they'll find anything important out there? Vexthal asked. They already have, Carter replied. They've found that former enemies can become friends. That's perhaps the most important discovery of all. In the following months and years, more changes would come to Keth Zara. The military academies were converted to scientific institutions. The massive underground bunkers became agricultural centers using human hydroponic technology. The orbital weapons platforms were repurposed as communication relays and research stations. When the Zorlath Collective finally reached the edge of Zarketh space 2 years later, they found not a vulnerable civilization, but a protected member of the Galactic Conquered. Human defense platforms similar to those that had once neutralized. The Zarketh fleet now guarded their worlds. The would-be invaders quickly retreated rather than face such formidable defenses. The war that had been planned for 3,000 years never happened. Instead, something far more rare and precious had emerged. A true partnership between 2 species who had once been destined to be enemies. And occasionally, when new Zarketh students learned about how their ancestors had declared war on the Vastly superior humans, they too would laugh, not in mockery but in relief at how far they had come.